Now I move up this other half track to support my bazooka men in that house over there, and they spot a fuckload of infantry right there, and they just blast away at them, getting many kills. And then, if you heard those shots, there's men in this building, and they were actually getting shot at from the field where all those infantry moved up. So I need to deal with them fast, otherwise I'm going to get some serious casualties right here.
Enemy vehicles ahead.
And this was my reserve half track that I moved up. They spotted some other half track that was attempting to move through this minefield little opening in the hedgerow there. Unsure of anybody on the gun, they blast away at it anyway. And unfortunately for that half track, there's also anti-tank mines in the minefields as well. And then this man, he moves up to scout in his sad attempt to suppress my men with his bolt-action rifle. Right now I'm unsure if there's a large amount of people in there, but I always assume the worst, so I just keep constant suppression up on in that forest. As you can see, like, a whole squad of guys just poured out of there. So I assume there's at least a platoon of infantry in those trees somewhere. That guy has a Panzerfaust on his back. But luckily for them, I got a friggin' half-track suppressing the crap out of them. Good news.
Enemy troops. Watch out. Enemy vehicle.
Instead of trading shots with my half-track, their men are completely unaware of what's going on, so my half-track gets to jump on them from the flank too. And you can see all the casualties he's created for the enemy side. And I also moved up a bazooka team just to get in that house with that other remaining man of the other bazooka team. I think I got pretty lucky here because they're all actually shooting at my half-track. He eventually inflicts so many casualties that it forces them to withdraw. And on the eastern flank here, you see my men preparing themselves for a invasion of Germans over the fence. But that scout car actually got knocked out by my heavy machine gun's penetration ability, so luckily for me. My men start to open fire on the German infantry approaching from the field. They get caught a little bit off guard and throws them off. And over here in the trench, I tell all my men to stand up, or come off from hiding, rather, so they can start opening fire on the troops in the woods, and to prevent any sort of counterattack. We caused so much fear into the half-tracks that they all decide to back off. And I actually think that half-track right there that's laying in the middle of the road hit one of those mines, much like that other half-track. And you can see that squad fleeing in the background. There's still many guys in there. These guys will only be able to hold them off for so long. There's only, what, like 7 guys there? and a whole platoon of infantry approaching. In the woods, you can hear a mortar strike. I called in a little light barrage. I was unsure if I was going to actually make it. My mortar team that was providing support for the eastern side gets shot at from a machine gun that they can't even see. In a way, they got the jump on them. And here's that half-track with that large caliber gun on it. He actually managed to get a huge shot off while on the move to the building and suppress my other heavy machine gun. And this was amazing. He friggin' hit my other machine gun team on the run, so those 2 attempts to knock this guy out have failed because they're suppressed. And they're getting a little suicidal with their desperation right now. So they tried to run up their half-track, and instantly was I able to take them out with my men. And here's my heavy machine gun team that were suppressed for a second. And they get some pretty good shots off on that half-track. And this little squad of guys was running across the field. Must have been a previous scout team that we failed to take out. And because these men are firing, they gave away their spots, so the half-track way in the background was able to take a shot at him and actually took out one of the guys. Eventually I tell them to move out because that was just suicidal sitting there. And these guys eventually get overwhelmed by my machine guns, and I'm not sure if we took out the driver or what happened there. And the Germans were able to push through that little fence opening, and they start nailing my machine gun from the side because those men that were covering the fence got suppressed into the point where they cowered and they couldn't see over the field. And I move a man on that half track to get in the rear gun, and my mortar team has some excellent precision right here and knocks out this whole, I assume, squad of infantry. And I wasn't sure if my half-track was out of ammo, but they stopped firing at the infantry in the woods, so they start to push up as well and take out my rear gunner. I take this 3-man squad and I place them in the half-track to get them on a gun, to prepare for the worst if they were to get up to the hedgerow. So I move these guys back, move them in their machine gun, because they're invaluable to me, really. And this other mortar barrage failed miserably because I had to pull back my spotter in the middle of the fire mission. And there's this whole group of Germans moving in to attack me right now. All at once. Sort of the German tactic, I guess. It's like a Zerg rush. And a lot of my guys are cowering, but they're pretty good. And this poor half-track doesn't have anybody on it. I also moved up my mortar team at this point. I started moving them to the left side of the trench and set them up there. It takes about a minute to deploy. And the German force starts to move past the hedgerow, and luckily we're extremely prepared for them, and we halt their advance, and they all lay prone and attempt to regain fire superiority over my men. And the Germans that made it through the fence pushed up quite a bit because my guys weren't able to shoot at them because I pulled them back. But unfortunately for them, my men had grenades. I moved this other support half-track behind my lines and moved them all the way over here onto this flank. He's able to get quite a few casualties just from this one spot. As you can see, that guy's wide open. completely unaware. And I don't know what the heck they were trying to do with this guy, but it worked.